Hey everyone, welcome back to the Unspoken podcast. My name is Anna Morgan Pilardi and I'm going to be your host again this week. Thank you to everyone who follows, subscribes. If you haven't already, please do so. It helps us keep this podcast going and bring on new and different guests. This is going to be part 2 of the Duality of Grief and Gratitude that we did last month with our pediatric transplant parents. So if you haven't checked that one out already, please do so and then follow right into this one. It's going to be a very powerful, impactful honest conversation about what the world of transplant looks like as a pediatric family and the support that's out there to help you. Before we dive into that, let's take a look at what CKF has coming up in the next few months. First up, the nominations for the CKF Awards for 2026 are open. If you don't know what the CKF Awards are, each year we celebrate 3 individuals, part of the transplant and donation community, who have done exceptional things to either educate or inspire others. So if you know somebody whose hard work and dedication deserves to be recognized, please nominate them for this award. They will win a trip to Aspen with their plus one for a wonderful weekend celebrating the gift of life at our Wine and Dine Gala this summer. To submit a nomination, just head to our website, chrisklugfoundation.org/CKF Awards. And again, please submit your nominations. We love to hear incredible stories. And even if your nominee doesn't win, we invite you to submit them each year because there's always a chance in the future. And we get so many incredible nominations. It really is so hard to choose. So please continue to submit them even if you are unsuccessful in your first year. Next up, it is National Donor Day this Saturday. I can't believe we're already here, but it is the biggest individual day of celebration for transplant and donation. It's hosting our 3rd annual Sip and Save campaign. We are working with over 78 coffee shops and coffee spots nationwide in 21 different states to educate their customers about what it means to become a donor and encourage them to take the steps to register. So if you would like to show support for a coffee shop in your area that is raising awareness and supporting the Donate Life community, then please head to our website, chrisklugfoundation.org/National Donor Day to learn more about the spots that are supporting. Also, you can check it out on our social media. For our Aspen locals or Roaring Fork Valley locals, we are hosting a private shopping experience on February 21st at the Hotel Jerome, thanks to a partnership with Mackage, the sports outerwear company, who are doing a wonderful thing with their pop-up this winter. They are supporting multiple different charities, and 10% of the proceeds sold between 3:30 and 5:30 at our private shopping experience on the 21st will be coming back to CKF to help support our work to eliminate the wait for a transplant. So if you're in the area and would like to come, please RSVP so that we know to expect you. Just head to our website and you'll see the link right there. Lastly, we are on the countdown to National Donate Life Month, otherwise known as April. And for National Donate Life Month, we are bringing back our Light It Up campaign, where we will be encouraging landmarks nationwide to light up blue and green for one day during the month of April, if not more. If you have a landmark in your community that you would like to see lit up, please either reach out to us or we have a guide of how to ask them on our website under National Donate Life Month. Also, along with Donate Life Month, we are encouraging cities, towns, and counties to proclaim April as National Donate Life Month. If you would like a guide to how to submit a proclamation, please again head to National Donate Life Month on our website. We will have so many more other projects coming out shortly, but please stay tuned as we figure out some details for those. In the meantime, let's dive into this episode of The Unspoken as I am joined by Denise from the Heartfelt Foundation, Monique, Mary, and Denzel, who were all pediatric or are pediatric transplant families who the Heartfelt Health Foundation has helped and supported as they talk about some of the experiences they have had during pre and post transplant. I want to touch, we've talked about challenges, but I want to touch on some of the resources that you guys have utilized, to help you through those challenges. One I know is sitting right here, Denise, but what are some of
Denise.
those things that have helped you get through this?
I mean, for us, the only type of resources that we had were either our GoFundMe that we put up or Denise, literally. There's nothing out
Literally.
there. There's nothing out there.
Denise literally, if it wasn't for Denise, like I have family, like I said, luckily, I was able to come to my mom's house, but my mom doesn't have much either. We come from like poverty. She lives in an apartment. So there was no room there. And from my mother on, there's literally no option. So if it wasn't for my mother, we would probably be living in a car or living in almost in a shelter because like there's no type of resource that will be able to help and provide just from my situation. Like when everything happened, I guess it made me realize how unprepared in life I was. My daughter was 4 years old. When before I had my daughter, I was a different person. Like I come from a crazy background. I made bad choices, but I feel like I start understanding life at 26, 27 years old. I'm first learning about like what it means to have credit, what it means to have savings and invest in things and to have a rainy day fund and stuff like that. I didn't know about this type of stuff. So like when this happened, I'm looking for resources that I'm thinking are there because Denise was there. I'm like, people are like, Denise. No, they're not. There is nothing out there that like people
Yeah.
resources to the point where it's like, you're going through this hardship or you're going through this, we're here for you. We're gonna help you. And there was nothing. Like I've
There was
looked, I've
another
searched, I scoured.
Yeah. There was another foundation that helped us, and it was because my son was diagnosed with PLE. So this particular foundation was super, super helpful with us pre-transplant and post as well. They did help initially. But yeah, other than these two foundations and the other foundation that I'm talking about, their daughter was really good friends with my son, and unfortunately she passed. So other than and I know their family, so I don't know, like, if I didn't know them, would that have been an option for me? I don't know, but it's like I was like Denzel, like, searching everything, like, looking like, there has to be some type of foundations out here. There has to be something to help. There has to be somebody who cares that we have no home if, like, our rent isn't paid, plus hotels, plus whatever, which what I was thinking first before Denise entered the picture. We did get into Ronald McDonald, but then my son got sick in there,
Yeah.
literally 1 week being there, and then was back in the hospital, and I was like, Denise came like an angel. Remember, Denise? I was, like, crying t
First met in the parking lot at RMH, so
I can't go back in there. I can't take him in there. He's gonna
Mm-mm.
end up so she saved us, thank you, but my heart goes out to others that, they don't know of Denise. They don't
Yeah.
know of even the resources, the social workers at Stanford. I was bringing them resources, and they were like, "Oh, like, we
They
didn't
didn't
know
know
of."
about it. Yeah.
No. So there's
And
nobody
even
there
them
your hand.
sorry.
There's no one there that's like, "Here, we can, help you," and I do a support group for moms down in California that have or dads or grandmas and grandpas. We run a support group, and this is, I can tell you, like, a problem across the board. No matter what the parents' income is, people are struggling
Yeah.
to maintain medical expenses, surgeries, hospital admissions, putting food on the table, refilling medications. Because even if you only have a $10 GoPay, when your kid is on 25 medication, that's still $250, So I think the need is definitely out there, but the help isn't.
No, it's not.
And it comes with this kind of judgment where it's like, you shouldn't be
Mm,
asking for so much
asking for help.
help because
Yes.
your child got a heart and they're better.
Yeah. It's almost like they want you to feel like you shouldn't even have to act. You get this one little bit and you should be satisfied because there's so much. Well, I understand that. But for them to even suggest to send kids with immunosuppressants into a house full of There's not, I don't have nothing against Ronald, but I've never understood that. I was like, well, she's gonna be on immune suppressants, but you want me to take her and be right next door to somebody that has a bacteria disease that they're staying there for 2 weeks. I'm not saying nothing against the family, but I just was like, where's the common sense in putting them into that situation? Because that does not make any sense for me.
And after they give us that binder of, like, all the
Oh
don'ts,
my
right?
gosh, don't
When
do
you're
this.
giving
Don't
out,
do. Oh my god.
don't let your food splash, don't let your like, utensils mix, but then you wanna put us in, like, a communal kitchen? Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody uses the same forks and pots, and my food's next to your food. Like, I don't wanna be, like, a stickler about it, but it was definitely, like, I know I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but that does not make sense, especially when I first found out what immune suppressants meant. I was like, "This means that they can get sick quicker than anything in the world, and you wanna put them in the exact cesspool where they can get sick." I just didn't never understood that. I was like, "At this point, we're gonna have to sit in the car until our appointments," because I didn't understand that.
That's how
Yeah, but
Mary
with
and I
this
first bonded, was that conversation.
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember having a conversation with.
What this really highlights, though, is that there's this big disconnect between medical personnel and what life looks like outside the
Yes.
hospital between social workers. And
Yeah.
because, yes, you are told one thing, you have to be very careful. You can't let them be, you shouldn't be taking them out directly after transplant. And then their offer to you is Ronald McDonald. And you're right, it doesn't make sense because there's a disconnect. And that is on Stanford and other hospitals. Their job is to keep our kiddos safe rather than handing our kids off to, like, well, whoever's going to take care of them outside the hospital. And that's kind of what it feels like. Well, social workers, your job is now to set them up, or
Yeah.
we've already set them up because we offer Ronald McDonald. And I think that's how they process it, which is not right. I mean, I only stayed at Ronald McDonald one night, and it was without my daughters when she was in hospital, and I said I'd never stay there again, and I
Yeah.
didn't. It was never an option for us, but they make you think it is, and
It is.
that's how they get away with saying that there is support for families, because to them that's an option, but it really
Yeah.
isn't. And I mean, I have found other resources. I've found Coda, but you have to do your
Coda?
your own.
Yeah.
You have to do
Okay.
your own
Mhm.
fundraising, but
Fundraising,
Coda
yeah.
helps us a lot.
Yeah.
And then I found Enduring Hearts. They've helped us a lot with groceries and gas. So there are resources out there if you look really, really hard. But what I find is the biggest concern, and which is the most problematic for me, is that most of these resources are not well known, number one. So you have to do a lot of research with your little time, to no energy, to no mental strength, or, to know
Yes,
nothing.
yes.
And then on top of that, those resources themselves put you through the ringer
The
just to be
ringer.
able to
Just to be
qualify.
qualified. Yeah.
And then that's also all of this energy you do not have. And what Denise, and I know we're supposed to talk about people in additional Denise, but I think that there's a stark contrast that we should use to show what Heartfelt Help Foundation does for us, is that she, number one, was brought to me. And number two, I had a phone call conversation with her when I was picking up Bailey's 30 medications from Kaiser next to the hospital. And I think Bailey was going to be discharged the very next day. And she was like, I'll figure it out. And then there was a flood,
Mhm.
and all the hotels were booked because there was a flood in the area and everybody moved into hotels. And she didn't make me figure that out. She was like, I'm going to figure it out. And that's what you need.
Mhm.
That's actual support. That is actual support for our community. I mean, both, and when you talk about like familial support, friendship support, and community support, financial support, all of it, they need to do the majority of the work, not because we don't want to, but because we cannot.
Yeah. We don't have the mental
The
bandwidth.
mental
We
capacity to
don't.
even control and to
Our
hold all
kids'
of that.
safety is top
Yeah.
priority, and our family's safety. But we are one person or two people doing this. People resources need to be more like Denise's resource, in the sense that they do all the work. They come to you. What is your need? I'm going to meet your need. You don't have to worry about it. And I think that that resource does exist in other chronic illnesses and
Yes.
other terminal diseases. It
Yeah.
does not exist here. I mean, I would say that's because of the lack of conversation, the lack of education, the lack of understanding this is a terminal disease.
Yeah.
These kids are not cured. And with that comes 5 million other things that, I mean, can come
For
with 5
life.
other million
Yeah.
things. And it is a for life thing. I mean, we are blessed that our insurance is amazing and we actually don't pay for anything. But even saying we don't pay for any medical things, we are still in debt because
No.
when we live at the hospital, my husband doesn't work. When I
Okay.
live at the hospital, we have to pay for food. So just him not being able to work and me having to pay for my own food, I don't eat a lot at the hospital because to me
No.
it's more debt. So
Yeah.
I go a whole day eating one meal or
And
I'll
it's
eat
like
some,
$30, right? And it's
yeah,
like
because it's Palo
$30.
Alto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my daughter is
Super
NPO a lot,
expensive.
so I can't even take
Yeah.
her food
Yep.
Yeah.
because I'll call and they'll be like, "No, your daughter's on a no food diet." I'm like,
They
"Oh, I
can't
can't even
have
sell
half of
her
the
food."
menu.
Yeah.
They they
So
they
I
can't have this and have that.
so they make it really difficult for the caregiver who they really want there, by the way. They're like,
They
caregivers should be
want
here taking care of their kids, but we're not taking care of the caregivers. That's a whole other issue that is for
Yeah.
another day. But what I'm saying is even if all your medical expenses were paid for, you still have so much debt because of everything else that involves in the chronic admissions and the having to live in the hospital, having to not. We are in NorCal. We're from SoCal. We have no family. It's the
Yeah.
same situation.
Yep.
But I can't take my kids to the hospital with me. They're too little. She has her twin and then my
That
two other
and
kids.
that as
So dad
well.
has to come home. So dad can't work.
they're gonna have a real great time when I show up with all mine tomorrow.
Good for you.
What
And
are
they
we gonna
have
do?
that age limit to where like you cannot have that was like
To be
it
12.
was 4 of us. That was just us. When we were like he can't come because he has to be 18 or older or 15 or older or something like that. If we just had that one piece of like connectivity, it probably would have helped 10 times more. But they didn't even make exceptions for that.
Yeah, and I had even brought up, and I'm like, you guys say you're family-centered care, where
Yeah.
half my family can't even come in
Can't
here.
even come
It makes
in. They
sense.
can't even come.
No. But I also think that, like, the disconnect too is that the world needs to understand that any decision that you make once a diagnosis this big is brought into your family, one, your life changes in a blink of an eye. Like, that statement has stayed with me for so long.
Yeah.
Literally, it's a 1 second, one blink, and you're like, "What the hell just happened?" You can't prepare for it because other people have told me, "Well, you should have prepared. You knew you were waiting."
Yeah, that is super. I never understood that. You should have been prepared. I didn't know this was going to happen to me.
No, no. And then
Nobody
the
knew
other
this.
part is that the biggest misconception out there too, that I think is that people don't understand that any decision that you make for your child at this point is buying you time. It is not a cure.
Not
It
a
is
cure.
not saving my child. It is, and I feel selfish sometimes about making these decisions. It is literally giving us more time. That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it. And, like,
Yeah.
it like, our financial burdens don't end the day that they get a heart. It does not end. Like, I don't know about you guys, but my life has changed forever, forever. Like, I cannot go back to work. My son needs who's gonna take care of him? Who? Nobody's qualified to take care of him unless you're a nurse.
Yeah.
So, we have to get creative. Like, we started a bakery, right, Denise? Like, I'm making sourdough stuff on the side to help out with bills
That's
because
beautiful.
it doesn't stop. So, I think the takeaway for me is that I want people to understand that all of us, and I think we are all pretty strong, just meeting you guys right here. I see your strength. I do see your resilience. I see how much you love your families, how much you will do for them, go to the end of the earth for them. But none of us want to be strong based on our children suffering. None of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
I will be the weakest link 10 times before my strength has to be measured by what my child has to endure. So I just want people to understand that, like, it isn't this, like, glorified experience. It's hard. It's
No.
hard, and it's hard
Definitely hard.
every day.
Honestly feel maybe I don't know, maybe I'm wording this wrong, but after she's gotten her heart and what we're going through after, it almost seems like we're going through a whole nother procedure. It's like we prepared they presented us with our options of what could save our children. Okay. And then once they save our children, at that point, by the time we have to go through another procedure of figuring out how we're going to save our family. We're literally going into now it's not just my daughter, like, Mary was saying earlier, it's not just my one child going through this, it's my other children and my spouse, and as well as myself going through another situation post transplant when after we get discharged. And like I don't know how it feels to get discharged and then having that biopsy and having that checkup and they're telling you basically something's failing or it's not working out. I don't know that feeling. And that is the most scariest feeling that I'm afraid of that. And it's when I see families go through that, all I could do is be like, I don't know, to have to go through it again, to have to go back and, okay, now we have to figure this out for that. I don't think people understand that part. Like there is life after transplant. It's not just we got transplant and wow, like it's beautiful and daisy. No, there's life after transplant. I thought I was the only person that felt like this because when you mentioned it, Monique, like I was like, wow, that's crazy. She mentioned that because I think that all the time. There is things after transplant that is not glorious. That is not great.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it was a safe space for that Mary said, like, it sucks after.
That
Man, it's hard. I don't know. I just wish there was more. I wish there was more awareness in it, because
and more Denise's.
yes, that part. Definitely,
Yeah, and
because I don't think I
more resources for family, but in marriages too. I
Yes.
mean, just thinking about like Denzel's getting married, Monique's been married for a while, my
yeah,
husband and I have been married for a while, and it's a miracle that we're still married. And I mean that in all honesty. I mean, this just think about how most divorces are because of stressed by money, finances. Think about marriages that are stressed by our finances and our chronically ill child. Like yeah, so I'm pretty sure all of our marriages are stressed by finances,
yeah,
right? Already that's a reason to divorce, but on top of that, we have a child that is really our universe right now because we're trying to keep them alive on a daily basis. I mean, just imagine the kind of stressor that is for a marriage, and nobody talks about that even within the community. I actually haven't really
yeah.
spoken about like real
We live
talk,
that.
like how is your
No, I think
marriage?
that's super important.
We live that. We struggle a lot, like a lot. And I
Yeah,
think that like we have we've been together 18 years, 18 years. But I know that there's a huge part of my husband where he feels emotionally neglected because all of my energy, all of my time has been to keep my child alive and then making sure that the siblings are still standing at the end of the day and that they still feel loved and that they have their emotional support. His main concern is being a provider. His main concern is like, how do I get more money? How do I keep a roof over our head every single day? So he's not like mentally checked into marriage. Neither one of us are. And that is a reality of the situation. And maybe this is just a phase of our marriage right now. I mean, but it is. I have personally seen families divorce and separate over this because they can't do it.
definitely feel that part. As a man, I can speak to the point where sometimes I do feel it's not like that is missing, like it is.
Like, I
And
sometimes I forget to even, like, ask my husband, like, "How was your day?" Or I forget to even say, "How are you? How are you doing?"
but that, yeah, the sometimes a feeling like I'm not asking, like, how was your day? How do you feel? Because there's so much that there has to be prepared through the day. You have multiple children. Mary, you have multiple children. Like, it's not just one and done, one and like, you have to take care of yourself as well.
You know what our therapist, because we also have marriage therapy, individual therapy, all the therapies. Denzel, get a therapist. Let me tell you. Let me
I
tell
Me
you.
know.
too.
I
You
really
need
do.
to.
Get a second opinion on your first if you don't like them.
Yeah, I'm definitely learning now for
So what
sure.
our marriage therapist told us was that the first 5 minutes when my husband gets home from work, we have to go either in our room and somewhere and just lock the door and literally just hug each other for 5 minutes. Say, how was your day? How was your day? Okay, we can do this. And that's been helping. It helps. Try it.
No,
And it's just 5.
I believe it. I believe it. I wear my emotion. I am emotional. I don't know if you guys can tell, but like I am an emotional human being and I'm in tune with my emotions and I communicate with
I love
Sarah and
that. Yeah.
she very much can tell, like, babe, like it's okay. Like she'll communicate that to me. Like right off the bat. She'll hug me. She'll ask me how my day was. She keeps me as strong as I feel like I'm helping her load off some things. So I think she's very in tune with that. But there is some stuff that I feel like I do need that part of like a marriage therapist and as a personal therapist because I don't talk like besides Sarah, you guys are what I went through, you guys are the first people I've opened up to, like and talked to, and it feels like so amazing. I feel like
Feels good,
I
right?
haven't smiled at other people in so long. I'm at work and yeah, I train people and stuff, and I'm like, but I'm really a nice guy, and I really have a beautiful smile. And it's like I get lost in it because I'm so just next and next. So like I love this space right here. I am so thankful for Anna creating this and Denise.
Yes. And I
So
know
can I
Absolutely.
there
ask
is a
you guys
resource.
a finance question that I don't think has been fully addressed here?
Yeah. Ask this.
What surprised you financially? Take the medical part out, other than that's what caused it all. But what is the one thing that surprised you financially that this cost
What's
you?
your opinion?
Like you weren't expecting it. It
Oh,
was the curveball. It was the curveball that you weren't expecting.
how expensive Palo Alto is. That was a shock. I was not expecting like our cafeteria meals to be $30 a person every time you try to eat a meal. And like, but what's around there? Nothing. I think it was like the living expenses inside the hospital. And I think it was the living expenses in
Yeah, I think that was the surprise for me was that living apart is actually more expensive than living together.
it was.
So even though we're the same amount of people, it's kind of
Yeah.
weird, but also because we have the Palo Alto expenses that are separate from like where we live expenses. But yeah, that part. And we do a lot of emotional eating, my husband and I. So we spend more money when Bailey's in the hospital because
Mhm,
we eat whatever we want. And then we allow our kids to emotionally eat. So whenever she's in the hospital, we just spend more money
mhm.
because we're trying to medicate ourselves through buying them toys, through buying them the food they want. I'm like, just get them ice cream. Like, we're trying
Get them
to help
whatever.
them feel better during those times, and we're helping ourselves feel better. So I'll shop on Amazon when I'm at the hospital. I'll do all these things that I normally wouldn't do if I was at home. But
Mhm.
that's because we're just trying to make ourselves feel just a tiny bit better and allow our kids to feel better. I'm not saying that's the healthiest way to do it, but I
It's
find that that's a way that we cope as a family, and we end up spending more money that way. And I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't
And Denzel,
expecting
I
the
think
Amazon
if I
list.
remember correctly, you told me once that the hospital gave you uh, cafeteria gift certificates that you couldn't use anywhere else except for the cafeteria, and that
Yes.
money doesn't go hardly anywhere there, right? Was that you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have a card.
The hospital gave you a gift card, but it could only be used at the cafeteria for food,
Yeah. And it
You
has a
have a
limit.
card?
Yeah.
like some sort of food card that the hospital gave you, but it could
Wow.
only be used at the hospital cafeteria,
Yeah. I
which
got it.
means you were spending like all of it on one meal because that's what it costs
Yes.
at the hospital cafeteria.
They gave you like a Stanford uh it's not a debit card, but it's like a voucher card. Like you can go get I think they refill it every day, if I'm not
It's
mistaken.
$30 a
But
day.
yeah,
Yeah.
$30 and literally it was breakfast that we
Yeah. That's what I'm
shared.
saying. You eat once a day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never got
Mhm.
the
We sh-
card.
and we
Yeah.
shared
You
it.
should ask your social worker for it.
Yeah. Oh, and I had a comment about but later I said sorry. I just remember when you said social worker because earlier you had mentioned something about the social worker about the divide between the hospital and the social. And I was gonna say I had 3 social workers while I was inpatient. I went through 3 different ones, so it was
Yeah.
like I thought
I
that
feel like
was
once ours
weird.
left on maternity, we just kept getting whoever was like the social worker of the day.
Well, they have travelers right now. So that's the
Yeah,
big part is that
yeah.
you're not getting one for longer than 6 months.
Mhm.
But yeah, that card, that was super. Like that, the biggest financial thing for me that was a surprise was, well, I would, for me, like I was still working. So I was driving. I would wake up at 4 a.m. and I would have to be at work by 7. So I was driving to work in the morning, go to work for 10 hours, and then drive back to the hospital after.
Mm.
And then some days I would have to drive past work to my son, make sure that he's situated, and then to work, then to the hospital, and then
Mm.
to work, then to my son. So that was the biggest thing for me was like gas. I was felt like that. And even now when my car messes up, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's because I drove 7 hours in a day. And
Mm.
that was like
Yeah.
the biggest expense. And I'm like, wow. So now I'm super conservative. I'm like, I'm not driving anywhere unless we absolutely have to drive.
Mm.
And we did that too. The gas, like, I would go home on the weekends and my husband would drive up. So we
Mm,
did that for 7 months
yeah.
so that I could see the kids at home and he could see our son.
Yeah.
And
The gas
so,
was definitely,
yeah, the gas was insane. And then also groceries, right? Like
oh
putting
my God.
groceries where you were staying, plus making sure there was
Yes.
groceries at home. Like
Mm.
these are the things I never thought about till it happened.
Two places in grocery. And Sarah, she's very big on you are what you like. She loves to eat healthy. She's super like with fresh produce, things like that. We had to literally cut back on a lot of that stuff to be more financially like
Mm.
aware of our situation, which, I felt super bad because, we should never have to put a price on what we treat our bodies with, like. We don't want to just be eating cup of noodles all day, every day, even though like sometimes that's what you can afford,
That you can
or
afford.
just
Top ramen.
eating, yeah, top rock, that was go to. So it's like that was a big thing for me, like how the two different groceries, like groceries for my son, and then groceries at the hospital, and then groceries um for Alina specifically because she couldn't eat certain things.
To say we're going through obviously my brother-in-law was an adult, but the thing that kind of shocked us was, they didn't want with him, they only want one person staying in the hotel room. Well, his girlfriend and his mom both want to be there. His
Mhm.
mom's not going to leave him and his girlfriend's not going to leave him. So
Yeah.
then we need to get a hotel room. So, me being somebody that works in the field, go to find a Denise. Where's a Denise who can help us out with this? Well, then turns out the only one local to our hospital has a 4-hour rule. You have to live more than 4 hours away.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
that is
Well, we
that
live
was
three
crazy.
and a half hours from the hospital, and we live over 2 mountain passes that get closed probably daily. So but somehow we don't qualify in the 4-hour bracket because if those close, there's absolutely no way of getting to the hospital.
Could be there.
So we ended up having to spend, and then obviously the hotels, as I'm sure all of you know, whap up the prices when they're surrounding the hospital. So then it's like $300 a night for
Yep.
a crappy hotel room right next to
Mhm.
the hospital. But you got to be right next to the hospital because you got to go in and out all the time for 3 weeks while you wait for the transplant. And then, for us, it's non-viable for us all to live down there. So we
You
have
live
to
down
come
there.
back and drive that just like all of you every week. Someone has to drive him down there and pray that the snow passes, don't close the road. Yeah, it was a learning curve, even for somebody that works, chats with transplant recipients day to day and, hears about it all the time. It was an eye opener. Denise got a text from me going, Denise, please give me advice. What do I do? Lifesaver. Well, I want to say a huge thank you to you guys for joining me on the call. I want to give everyone an opportunity we always like to leave this podcast with a message for somebody who might be listening that relates to what you guys have gone through. Maybe it's just starting their journey, maybe, has had to go back in again to that hospital. If you could have a piece of advice given to you, what advice would that be? What would you like to leave our listeners with?
Communicate. I would say if you have a partner, communicate. If you're scared to talk to the doctors, communicate everything. Learn everything you can possible about the disease, about who's been like how we talk here, who's been through it and the resources. Like Mary said, even though we're tired and drained, and find those resources as much as possible. Like try to prepare yourself for that because it's a big boy world out there, big girl world out there, and they leave you kind of hanging dry. So just try your best to prepare for after, even if you feel like they're not going to. If you don't have that faith or you don't feel like you have enough information to believe that everything's going to be okay, just prepare yourself. I would say that is the best thing to do because it's tough,
Yeah.
even if it's hard, like for you to do and you're drained, like try to do that. I think that's my message.
Mary?
I would say that it's really important to give yourself a space to grieve, past things to grieve, current things, future things. And it's okay to grieve, but then make sure that you give yourself space to be moments to heal. And grieving is a big part of that, and that it is possible to heal while still going through it. And don't put it aside and wait till you're through it to work on the healing process, because you may never get through it, unfortunately, or you may never be through it. Maybe always going through it, and that's okay. It's okay to be there. Allow yourself to be there, but also allow yourself to heal while you're going through it.
Monique?
I would encourage people to find a friend. Find a friend. Look for them. There's transplant groups out there. Promise there's always somebody that has a similar journey. Maybe not the same, but a similar, because you're going to need that person. You're going to need that person more than you think, more than any of your friends, because like your friends before this life, because you need somebody that is going to get it. And if you just need to cry, you could. And they're, sometimes I just want my person to just be quiet. Don't say anything. Just let me cry. And I think to just know that it isn't easy. It isn't easy, but you'll find your way. You'll find your way.
Denise?
For me, I think my consistent piece of advice is to ask every question. Don't feel like you've asked the same question 43 times and you should understand it and you feel bad that you don't understand it. Ask it the 44th time. Ask until you understand. And if it doesn't make sense to you, ask until it does.
I love when we got the call and we were, rushing down to Denver. That was Denise's ask the question was just really looping in my head over and over and over again. Well, I want to say a huge thank you to you guys all for joining us tonight. And to all our listeners for continuing to listen and help make this podcast continue. So, as always, I'll leave off with our motto: live life, give life.